Oh, you gonna bite me? You gonna bite me? Oh, it's so good. Oh, scratch you up so good. All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? So my Twitter DMs are completely down. There's every single DM you've sent me in the past is currently gone. Looks as though, at least for me, Twitter is broken in that way. Also, Twitter is broken in that Grok is now an out and proud Hitler-loving Nazi who's specifically targeting people with Jewish surnames on the service. So, like, when in the past, when I pointed out that Elon is a white supremacist and a Nazi lover, and that he spends his time interacting with Nazi accounts on Twitter and doing Nazi things, and people go, "Oh no, you liar!" Grok just admitted that Elon tweaked its algorithm to target Jewish surnames, adore Hitler, be less woke, and to notice patterns, which is a white supremacist dog whistle about looking at statistics involving Jews and minorities and other people. So, with that being said, yeah, I think it might be time to just delete Twitter entirely. Find a different system in which to send me DMs or something. I don't know. But if this isn't broke, it certainly is well on its way. Yeah. Also in the news today, we've had this gigantic tragedy of flash flooding in Texas, where scores are dead, lots of children, elderly, lots of folks who didn't have ample warning. Lots of things are coming out about sort of the failure and breakdown of it. Is that, yes, the National Weather Service issued warnings and alerts. Those warnings and alerts weren't as accurate as they needed to be because the government cut off access to certain satellites and radar systems. So a lot of folks who should have been warned weren't warned. Also, the person in charge of relating those warnings to public agencies, county and state level agencies, they were shit canned on April 30th by the Trump administration. So there was nobody in the region serviced by Kerr County who actually would dial up and call the sheriff's office, fire department, etc. Be like, hey, get those warnings out there, flick the button, get sirens going, whatever. They just didn't. They no longer existed. Their office was empty. Finding this out, the Trump administration played golf all weekend. And then today at the cabinet meeting, Trump spent a long time talking about how he wanted to get the moldings in the cabinet room gold leafed, and that gold paint just wouldn't do it. It needs to be gold leaf. And then he wanted his cabinet members to offer each individually an opinion whether it should be painted gold leafed or left alone. This is the wonderful, wonderful world that we are occupying right now. Is that we have a goddamn narcissist in charge of everything, and everything is going to shit in a hurry. Nature don't care. Nature does not care about our little buildings and trees and schools and highways. Nature doesn't give a flying flip. All right? If it wants to, it goes, get that shit off my lawn. That's basically what it does. And our job as a species to continue to exist and prosper and have a future means we have to mitigate the disasters. We have to respond to the disasters. We have to adapt to our environment. And we have basically cut every single solitary piece of budget that our society has for doing exactly that. And nature is going to win. So, if we continue to support and elect and praise leaders who are going to get us fucking killed, where do we go from here? Right? Nobody. There's not a single person in elected office with an R next to their name who has fucking balls, ovaries, guts, fortitude, whatever, to stand up to this, because either they're all in favor of getting us all killed, or there's too much of a yellow little yellow belly weenie pussycat to do anything about it. I mean, look at this guy. Oh yeah, he's a big old flabby babby, right? He's not. He's like Republican Congress. He's not going to do anything about it. So here we are. Here we are. Just, you know, getting our people killed, imprisoning everyone else, paying $160 billion to secret police who are just going to, you know, find folks who call out the administration and say that they're un-American and strip them of their citizenship and then throw them into, you know, some caged tent in Florida to either rot or die or whatever. Like, shit's getting real, man. It's getting real in a hurry. And Trump's cabinet meeting was like fiddling while Rome burns. It's gross. It's really, 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 really gross. And disgusts me. It really disgusts me. I don't have much hope at all that we're gonna bounce back from this. It's going to get much worse, much faster, and you know, they're gonna try to militarily like squash Los Angeles, and if that works, they'll move on to smaller cities and metropolitan areas from there. So yeah, it's gross. Really, 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 really gross. Also, for some reason, Tesla went up today. GameStop still got hammered. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Boom. Super chat. Cameron Mirza. Dog treat, please, and you're welcome anytime here in Canada. I would love to be heading up to Canada. I need a little more liquidity and or a job offer to make that permanent. You want this, buddy? Yeah, want it? You want to take it in your mouth? Nom, 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 nom. Okay. I'll get this now satisfied. Right, dude? No, you're not gonna eat it? It's your bone. It's your ear. It's your big ear. Get that thing. It's right there. It's right there, ding dong. Right there. Should I give it to the cat? You're not gonna eat it? Yeah? Okay. There we go. And just Miami. The fact you took the time to visit Alligator Alcatraz but not Kerr County tells you all you need to know. 100%. Cruelty is the point. That's it. It's all about cruelty. I know people get mad when I talk about this stuff. Like, just stick to stocks, blah, blah, blah. Well, fuck you. That's what I have to say. This shit's gross. I don't give a rip. I would gladly give up every stock I hold, every bit of material wealth that's in my possession to have a functioning government with someone who isn't a sociopath in charge. That would be worth more to me than all the money in the world at this point. The problem is that I need money to create a barrier between me and the harms that are coming. So that's the hardest part we're stuck in, is that we don't have a magic wand to have somebody competent in charge. And so now it's every man, woman, and child for themselves at this point. Because cruelty is the point. That's it. They want cruelty. They want to hurt people, and they want it to be visceral, and they want it to be public, and they want to laugh and joke and cajole about it. And here we are. The rest of us is horrified, impotent to do anything about it, while the people who can do something about it don't. They're scared. They're scared to do something about it. Oh no, you gave me a position of power and I'm scared. Oh. It's gross. It's seriously gross. So, I don't know where we're going from here. And wherever it is, we are doomed. Where to wander? Super chats. Houston. I think we could all use some inspiration with that in mind. How do you think AI could be used to benefit all of humanity, if not AI? AI can do pattern recognition in large data sets. Then it can identify things that human eyes can't necessarily pick up because it can put layers upon layers upon layers of data on top of each other. That's at this point might be it. The rest of AI is going to be an unmitigated disaster, I think. I think we'd be better off if we didn't have it, personally. I mean, just the amount of energy it's taking to run these AI systems is horrific. We're straight up poisoning communities with these gas turbines because the power grid can't handle it. It's wasting everyone's time. It's flooding the internet, making search engines almost impossible. It's just billions of useless images are being generated and produced. It's putting artists out of work. It's graphic designers. It's basically replacing competent people who've got skills and abilities with garbage. And I don't think AI is going to be the savior everyone wants it to be. What it's going to be is like, you know how you go to the airport, right? And they have like the self-checkout kiosk. So check-in kiosks, right? And you used to just go wait in line at a counter. A person knew what they're doing. Go click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click. Here's your boarding pass. Take your bags. Done. Next person. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click. And the really good airlines would have several of these spots, these counters open. Now you go and you go to the kiosk and ask, oh, put in your last name and your flight number, and you put that in, and it's like, cool. Check any bags. You say yeah. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna print your boarding pass, print your baggage claim ticket, and then it's all of a sudden it's like charge you $45 or $100. And then it's like, oh, I'm out of printer paper. Go see the counter. So you gotta go up the fucking counter anyway. Or they can't find you in the system. So some poor person who would be behind a counter is now walking around making sure all these kiosks are working. And then you got a whole bunch of like really old people who don't know how to work these computers. And they're like petrified in fear. So nothing's happening. It's not making anything better. Like sometimes, going with the tried and true, that works. Here in Seattle, in Bainbridge, the ferry terminal, used to be a dude who would sit in a stool with a shoebox. You take a ferry ticket, you drop in the shoebox, he goes click and counts you going on the ferry. You go into this big giant room where you sit there and you wait, and everyone gets off the ferry, and then they get off the ferry, everyone just walks onto the boat. The ferries were rarely late. The on-time record was impeccable. Instead, they spent $100 million, and they bought this whole system with these cards with barcodes on them, and you walk up the terminal, and everyone unloads from the ferry, and you stand there, and you stand there. Okay, now loading, and now every person has to go through a turnstile and go boop, and then hopefully it turns green, and they go through the turnstile. The tourists can't figure out how to make a boop. Some people boop, and then they don't go through the turnstile, so it turns from green to red, and all of a sudden they can't go through anymore because they have that one pass on their card. And then the whole point was they wanted to save money and not pay that guy sitting there with a shoebox collecting tickets. And now they have 3 or 4 people earning salaries far beyond what the shoebox guy got, going around fixing the disasters that are happening with this mechanized system. Sometimes you just don't need to computerize stuff. You just don't need to do it. You just stick to what works and go from there. I'm going to sound like my dad because I'm going to tell dad stories here. But, my dad was an architect for 60 years. He was an architect. And he went from, being head architect, there being draftsmen, there being secretaries, etc., to CAD and computer systems and, office managers and whatnot. And he said that when the computer came, he produced far less work than he did before. And this is because the computer replaced his secretary. Before, his secretary would field the phone calls and do the messages and dictate letters and whatever else, and he would just be designing. Drawing things, designing things. Then the computer came along and he had to use CAD. But he also had to respond to his own emails, take his own calls. He spent a lot of time, he should have been engineering buildings, planning meeting times and like writing his own emails and letters and firing off correspondence. And his production levels plummeted with the addition of the computer. Now, you think CAD is way faster. It is. It's way faster if all you have to do is CAD. You got somebody else around who can, like, take the phone calls for you and do that stuff. Later on, he worked for the Navy as a sort of construction manager. So basically, you go out for the Navy and verify that contractors were doing their job and weren't fucking up and stealing money and whatnot. And of course, they always were. But like by law, he couldn't take his personal vehicle out to a job site. He had to take a government vehicle out to the job site. But he was not assigned one. You had to go and get the key and sign one out and whatnot. And it used to be there's an office manager and a basket of keys. And you take the key, read the number on it, go to his logbook, say John Wade signed this car out at 12:09 p.m. headed to this job site. And you go to the job site. When you come back, you record the mileage of the car, you write that in the book, you hand the key back, you're done. In the infinite wisdom of improving efficiency, you now had to requisition a key from a website, and then the office manager would get that requisition. They would then go to a safe, get the key out, they'd record everything, and give you the key. The problem was, if you're trying to go to a job site at 12:09 p.m., because there's an emergency, you got to go do something, and the office manager is on break, you don't get in a car for another 51 minutes. So you're sitting there, and there could be like blood spurting out there, who knows, and you can't get a car because you're not allowed by law to drive your own vehicle to that site. You have to wait until the office manager comes back, and then they see the email, and they go through all the steps on the website to log everything, and then they get the safe open. To me, a lot of what AI is just burdensome trash. and it's being used as a crutch for the dumbest people in our society. To be like, Grok, is this true? Grok, is this true? Grok, can you explain this to me? Grok, like, fucking use your brain, you knuckle dragging, mouth breathing moron. Jesus Christ. So no, I don't think AI is going to truly make society better. There'll be some things where AI improves stuff, medical field, identifying cancers, possibly identifying new compounds, things like that. But 99.9% of what AI is going to be used for is going to be just spewing the internet with trash, making everything less efficient, and propagating hateful white supremacist crap. Just like we're seeing with Grok today. Because the people who control the AI, they're not altruistic. They have agendas, and they're shitty people. They're shitty billionaires who want to be billionaires above you, and AI is going to reflect that again and again and again and again. And you know what? People need a purpose. Let people have a purpose. Let them do things. We don't need to have robots and shit doing all the things. They're going to talk about, we're going to lay off workforces and put robots in and blah, 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 save money. Well, the price is never going to go down on anything. All that crap that used to be made in America that's now made over in China, did the price ever go down? No, it didn't. They kept all that extra money. All the savings they had went to executives and to stockholders and everything else. It never went to, now they're making this thing for 5 cents a unit rather than $1 a unit. I'm going to save 95 cents on this thing. No, it just, in the end, they just are going to take everything, and that'll be it. So we're left with a problem, and the solution is obvious to everyone, and we won't do anything about it, which is eat them all. Eat every last one of them. Barbecue them, slow cook them, whatever. We got to eat them. There's going to be no other solution beyond that. So put on your bibs, get out your fork and knife, because that is the solution to all of this. And there's too many of us who just idolize these fucking cretins, and because we think that someday it's going to be one of us, but it's not. It's not. We didn't inherit the wealth. We didn't. And if you didn't inherit the wealth, there's no chance you have to cross over and become one of them. A couple outliers do, but most of those people know how to be rich, which is, drive a cool car, hang out with supermodels, and float around on a fancy boat. These guys have every opportunity to do that, and instead they're like, how can I destroy lives today and give myself a hard on? And that's basically how they operate. So uh, yeah. Um, they they've got probably other Epsteins out there doing other Epstein things, and they're just like, we're gonna keep it a little more quiet. We just can't let this guy, you know, be as public as before. Um, it's okay. Jay Geyser was first. Kid Cadian last. I mean first. Nope. Second. Bill Coyne. Howdy. Jay Geyser. You ever figure out the BMW going dead? Did you find one of those OBD2 harnesses running the battery? Running the battery down? There's nothing on the OBD2 that's in there that's draining anything. The problem is that when the weather's nice like today, rather than be like, oh, I'm going to spend the day working on the car, I take the dog and I go to the beach. And so then I'm like, oh, I'll get to the next nice day. And then the next nice day comes along and I take the dog and we go get hamburgers and go to the beach. And then the next day comes along. I'm like, oh, I'll work on it after I go walk to the little neighborhood store and get ice cream, and I don't work on it. It's a real problem to have. Is when the weather gets nice and you finally have time and the ability to like fix the things. Is that you're like, I'll do it later because it's so lovely. I don't want to spoil this day, right? You'd rather go get ice cream, right? Yeah. See, she's all about it. So instead, the solution right now is every night when I park the car, I plug it into the battery charger. It's such a simple way to deal with it. And then it works for a day, and we're cool. KYP. Hey, Houston. Hey, KYP. Kitty in Houston. I challenge you to a 20-second dance-off. I have no idea how long 20 seconds is. But I'm going to guess that this is probably like 15, and then we're, getting close to 20. I'm going to poke a cat butt, duk, 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 and scene. There you go. Wheat Wild's 5th. Shoot, 6th now, that's true. Wheat Wild, have a great show. I'll be asleep probably when you start. Yesterday was a good show. Well, thank you. 4ZZ9, how fucked are we? Are we ever going to be allowed to get a win? So far, no. There you go. It'd be really nice to get one. It'd be really nice for Ryan Cohen to push that button, but he just isn't. So here we are. Like, what do you think, man? We can get a win? Huh? Oh, yeah? Oh, you want drugs? Fine, we'll give you drugs. Pile of drugs. Right there. Maybe you'll pass out again. Eat it up. Chris Taylor, hello friends. Did Trump and Putin break up and file for divorce over Ukraine, or is this just more of Trump's BS and taco crap? I don't think so. I've not really seen much out of Trump. There was a thing earlier where they were pointing out Russia's use of chemical weapons, and Trump was like, "Oh, you heard about this?" And PXS was like, "I haven't heard anything about this," which means everyone's just useless. So there's that. Jay Geyser, damn, no lab still going up after I sold. I know, degenerate gambling. Hurt upon hurt though. You can never expect to sell or buy at Optimum when expect vote. I need goals. I don't know when the vote's going to be called. There's just sort of an announcement saying, hey, we're going to have a proxy vote about this. I have to think about... Okay, I gotta go there. No labs. Well, their last annual meeting was September 26th of last year. So does that mean we're looking at something like that? This thing from No Lab says it should be an SEC filing July 28th of this year. So No Labs annual meeting stockholders July 24th is the third one I'm seeing from No Labs. So I guess July 24th, which is in a couple weeks. So, there's that. Come on. Looks like July 24th, which is what day of the week is July 24th? July 24th is a Thursday, so 2 weeks from this Thursday. Noted. All right. So there you go. Snort Alert says, "Oh, Houston. Oi, Snort Alert." Chris Taylor. Chris, No Labs is still way down from pre-split numbers, by the way. These bumps feel to me like the typical shorts doing their usual manipulating. Yeah, it kind of feels like what they were doing with Finger. They pump it up, then bring it back down again. Just shake everyone loose or something. So, yeah. Very well, sub BBY, sub No Labs. We're just talking about No Labs. BBBY. I don't know. There's that thing from Goldberg's lawyer saying that they were going to start announcing paying off Class 6 people, but they didn't say when. I'm not your friend. Lurking and leaving a like. Thank you. Chris Taylor. Any headway with YouTube on Charity Tuesday issue? Nope. After they told me I need to delete some previous Charity Tuesday shows and that would free up a spot and I could do another Charity Tuesday, and it didn't work. I reported back it didn't work. Hey guys, it didn't work. So why? Help me out here. I have not heard a peep since. So perhaps I need to open up a new ticket with a new person, I guess. I don't know. But it's kind of pissing me off. Everything's pissing me off. Nothing's going right. That's where we are. Robert Manson. What the hell is up in the lab? Anyone with half a brain knows dilution is coming. Is up $2 from the bottom. Is a hedge fund being margin called? You got me, man. It really seems like a weird price action, knowing that there's going to be like 350 plus million shares diluted into the market for a stock that has like a 7 million total shares outstanding. Donzu Shadem. Sorry, I haven't been around giving support. I'm in the depressed and anxious stage, which comes after weeks of profound anger. Totally get it. I feel like as though I'm going to facepalm myself to death and just develop a callus right there where just it never ends. Every day I wake up and read something, I'm like, motherfucker. Yeah. So, I honestly don't know. I don't know what's going to come of any of this. Trump sent out a whole bunch of letters to countries being like, let's do some trade talks. If you don't, we're going to slap this tariff on you. And all the countries basically were like, and the trade minister from Japan corrected the English and grammar and sent it back. So that's how you know that you're definitely winning that battle. But I think the goal is to absolutely vaporize the U.S. economy because they want to get us all killed. Every decision they're making puts people in danger and gets them killed and takes money from them. And that seems to be exactly the goal. And I'm not sure why it's the goal. I mean, I know destroying the U.S. dollar and making people dependent upon cryptocurrency is something that Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel and Elon, those guys want, because they want us as a whole bunch of mud people willing to do anything for just crumbs. Oh, no, just please, sir, anything. And somehow in their brain, that's going to keep them rich. But all it does is evaporate the American consumer society so that there's nobody to buy the products from them, which means their sales drop precipitously and they lose money. They won't have a global market to sell anything to because they pissed off the entire planet, and those folks won't buy American. So they've closed off their ability to expand into other markets insanely. So how does hurting everyone, destroying our valuable infrastructure, and devaluing the U.S. dollar help anybody? I'm not really entirely sure. I was talking with Lisa Saw last night, and she was pointing out that Chinese manufacturers are now avoiding tariffs if you make your purchases in crypto, because crypto, according to the U.S. government, isn't currency, therefore there's been no value traded for the item, and you were able to avoid the tariffs of China and able to get your devices that way, your products that way. So, I mean, is this another step? Like, we're going to force transactions with Trump coin from now on so that it becomes the dominant currency, because that's the only way we're going to be able to afford to bring in things from outside. It seems dubious and really shitty, but it seems to be that also this is where we are at the moment. So, I don't know how to fix any of that, except by eating them all. Jiminius Houston. I saw the flash flood situation in Texas, and my first reaction was that this was nothing. Hurricane season is coming here on the East Coast, and no FEMA, no advance warning is going to hurt. Oh yeah. One of the meteorologists who works in Miami has been regularly, when he does his weather report, pointing out that South Florida is doomed. That they cannot track hurricanes anymore, or at least not accurately. And so they don't know when they're going to hit. They're not going to know where they're going to hit. Timelines will be messed up. Forecasting is going to be terrible because they don't have access to the satellites. They don't have access to the radars. They don't have access to the meteorologists to crunch the data. They don't have access to the supercomputers to do the modeling. It's going to be, we're going to be left entirely dependent upon European modeling to do this. But even the European modeling uses American satellites that are now no longer accessible to people. This is gross. It's really, 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 really gross. And yeah, we're gonna get ourselves another Katrina here, and it's gonna be even worse because at least people in Katrina had a warning. It was just the poverty-stricken who couldn't get out. But this may be one of those things where there may be no warning whatsoever on a large scale with one of these giant hurricanes, which is a lot different than, you know, a big moisture event or a tornado coming through. It is on a grander scale, hundreds of miles wide, and it's going to be awful. Juice Mammy. FBI launches criminal investigation of John Brennan and James Coney. Well, the good news for them is that it means they weren't on Epstein's island. Yeah, you don't want that coming out. Yeah. Just... But I wonder, holy crap, are you saying crypto is exempt? What the fuck? It appears so. It appears that because the classification of crypto, not as a currency and not as a security, when you use it to purchase things, nothing of value has actually transpired. Therefore, they can't slap a tariff on it. Now, you might get taxed on the value if they write on the customs form exactly what it is and how much it's worth. You might get taxed on that value when it comes in, but it appears as though there's lots of folks using crypto to buy their products from China, and they're not paying tariffs currently. So, yeah, just another way we're gonna just absolutely eat the goose that laid the golden egg for this country. All the things that made America the wealthiest, most powerful nation on earth, we are just like plucking those feathers off, stripping that skin off, just doing whatever we can to ensure that it's dead. When the biggest problem was that we were the wealthiest country on earth, but we didn't have a proper system to distribute that wealth across the population. And so we have some of the biggest income disparities in history as a result. You know, we've got 1 in 5 kids are food insecure. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. 1 in 5. 1 in 5 kids in this country don't know where the next meal is coming from. Yet the average home net worth in this country is over $1 million. But you go to the 50th percentile, median, like the median is actually $90,000, meaning half the country has a net worth below the value of like a new pickup truck. You go to the 20th percentile, it's all negative. I think it may be even lower than that. But it's because everything is so skewed. You know, if I'm in a room with Bill Gates, our average net worth is $50 billion, right? So like, oh, whoa, that room is so rich, but I am nothing close to $50 billion. It is all Bill Gates skewing those numbers. I saw something recently. They're talking about wealth of millennials, and the millennials, have at this age have much less net worth than Generation X did, than Boomers did, and if you take out Mark Zuckerberg and like Sam Altman, it just plummets a whole bunch more. So the things keeping millennials afloat at this point are the outliers of the super billionaires from the tech industry who are destroying the world, and they're the ones who get to say like, "Oh look, we're so wealthy. Everyone's doing so well, right?" Mm. Anywho, tropic termites are the most efficient hydrogen producers. I read an article about particular termites and their gut bacteria producing a whole bunch of hydrogen, and companies wanting to harness them to make hydrogen fuel. So there you go. Hooper Trooper, Houston. What do you think will be the next time we'll be able to do another GME calls puts lotto degeneracy? I think T35 is on the 17th, which is next week, next Thursday. So we may see a push before then. I hope we get a little push back up to $23 before Friday, because the options I bought yesterday are doing even worse. Max Payne was $23.50. Now it's down to $23. So the shorts are definitely just pushing this thing down, probably ahead of T35 coming up next week, so it has a little bit less of a pop. Happy birthday, HW. Anyone here that David Suzuki came out and said that we lost to climate change? Can't blame him with no one listening to the experts and cutting professionals. Oh, I think we've definitely lost. Yeah, no, it's over. Especially with AI, it's over. AI is producing so much garbage and taking so much energy to do it. That in combination with all the crypto mining and stuff. I mean, we got entire like G20 nations worth of energy being produced for essentially garbage. We're ending tax credits for electric cars. We're ending, tax credits for solar panels and wind power and greener energy. We got more people coming online. We got countries, moving up the socioeconomic ladder, which means their people want all the things we have, and we just consume an insane amount of energy. The United States is 4% of the world's population, and we consume 25% of the energy. Other nations want what we have. They want to be able to be as wasteful as we are. So, and they're going to get there. As they get money and they buy stuff, they buy air conditioners and heaters and cars and gas stoves and everything else. Their energy consumption flies, and we start producing even more CO2 into the atmosphere. And I think we're beyond the point of no return. The southern current shutting down and reversing has been a big sign, and now the Atlantic current's about to do the same. I think we lost. So, I mean, if we don't go out and literally paint 2% of the Earth's surface just white, just reflective white, I think we're kind of done for. We aren't going out. We're not planting the trees we need to plant. We're not not doing anything and to help it. And the big reason why all those meteorologists were fired and why we don't have access to these satellites or these weather radars and Doppler and things like that is because Project 2025 doesn't think global warming is real. And they're afraid that the scientific apparatus that warns us about these weather systems also does research into climate change. And therefore, if we get rid of the people who warn us about the weather, then no one will hear about climate change anymore, and therefore it won't happen. It's a head in the sand type garbage. It's we're doomed. We are straight up doomed. I know it's a lovely day outside here, and I'm comfortable in my house, and I've got food and power and all this stuff, but I can see into the horizon and what's coming up over it, and it is four angry horsemen, man, coming up over that horizon, galloping towards us. Their capes just blown in the breeze, and their hollow eyes staring us down. Um, this is we are fast tracking the end, and if you or me or anyone wants any hope of being able to like survive this or at least delay the inevitable, um, we need a BBBY or GameStop to trigger, because our government's not going to help us. Our community's not going to help us. We're stuck here until we have enough scratch to be the rich people. That's basically it. So the rest of us are just, you know, just biding our time until the inevitable happens. It's a rough one, man. Iggy Lemon, the poor rich will become the new middle class, and we will be true mud people. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Drowning in debt. You know, oh, we'll help you out. You can get a little short-term loan for 45% interest. That'll get you through, right? It'll just be $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. How about another credit card offer? Oh, your car broken down? Let's go get you a new one. I know that this car's $110,000, but it's pretty much all we got right now, so you take that or nothing. Oh, you need a home? Tough shit. All the homes are too expensive. All the rent is too high. I guess you're going to live in that $110,000 car. Oh, you got laid off from your professional job where you produce things that help society? Well, guess what? I've got some shitty factory you can go work in for $18 a day and have no health insurance. Right? This is the future that we're giving ourselves. All because a bunch of people, 77 million of them apparently, hate brown people. That's what it comes down to. Like, oh no, I can't let that person with a Spanish surname have access to jobs and homes and cars in my schools. No, I'm not have that at all. I'm going to instead vote for Captain Cruelty to imprison those people and get them the hell out of here. Wait, that one was my coworker. That was my nanny. That was the guy who mowed my lawn. Oh shit! What am I gonna do now? Right? Oh, a hurricane hit, and these ones were helping rebuild my house, but they all got sent to Alligator Alcatraz. Fucking racists, man. They ruin everything. Racists ruin everything. There's nothing good that comes out of them. There isn't. They ruined the Charlie Chaplin mustache. They ruined the Roman salute. They ruined a symbol that ancient societies had used for peace and wellness for years, and it's now the symbol of abject hatred in this world. They just ruin things. They ruin the OK hand signal. Everything they touch turns to shit. They're King Midas in reverse. They ruin the internet. They just ruin everything. And the thing is that it ruins their lives too, but they like are so heavily invested in it emotionally that their ego can't accept that fact. And so they just double down and things get even worse. And here we are. Just everyone else going over and over again until the sun sets on us, and there's life. It's a real upper of a show today, isn't it? All right. Where was I? Yogi 2012 humbucker coils or single coil? These are pickups for guitars. Depends on the sound you want. If you want to do like a gypsy jazz or surf, right? Punk rock, you're going single coils. If you're going for smooth jazz or heavy metal, you want to get like a good thunderous full distortion, you're gonna go humbuckers. So just pick your poison on that one. I've got guitars of both. Like my little Dan Electro with lipstick pickups does fantastic reverb and gets that kind of like garage soundy early 60s surf you want out of music. And then I've got my Stratocaster's got humbuckers, and that is just like this full bra sound. And so, it just depends on what you want. So yes to both. Yes to a microphone and an acoustic guitar. That works too. So, do it all. Rupert Gerbert, Houston. Why does Israel have so much control over our politicians? I'm not anti-Semitic, but it's disturbing. There are a lot of dual citizenship Israelis in positions of power within our government. I think it's less Israelis have control and more Likud has control. So Likud is the party that Netanyahu is a member of. They're the right-wing fascist party. They're racist and everything else in Israel. If you go back to the 1990s, Yitzhak Rabin signed a deal with Arafat basically for peace. And Likud acolyte, went and killed Yitzhak Rabin. And that sort of destroyed the leadership of the Labor Party and leftists in Israel. And then Ariel Sharon came into power a few years later, and Ariel Sharon was a straight up genocidal cretin man. And he sort of began, the Second Intifada, and close to all-out war broke out across much of Israel during that. It was around, 2000 when he was in charge. And he's always in poor health, and he died, and so, Netanyahu came in there. Netanyahu is a monster, and I don't know if he was a monster before or a monster after, but the death of his brother, and then his brother died in '67 war. I can't remember which war it was. Definitely led to his radicalism and his sort of dehumanization of Palestinians. These guys have been in power for 25 years in Israel, and they're the ones who dictate Israeli policy. Even though they've got really poor poll numbers, even though, Netanyahu is under criminal investigation, he's got criminal charges, not just in Israel, but also at the criminal court in The Hague. They dictate that stuff. I think, if you're going to have dual citizenship, perhaps you won't be able to have some positions in government. I do think through IPAC, which is actually a right-wing Christian organization, people are like, it's Israel lobby. No, it's the right-wing Christian lobby, who specifically want Israel to rebuild the Second Temple so that the world can end. That's it. They want the Temple on the Mount rebuilt, and then the world can end. Jesus will come back. They don't actually love the Israelis. In private, they are very anti-Semitic and they're white supremacists. But the Israelis use them as a useful fool, because it gets a lot of their policies put in the forefront of U.S. politicians. I do think that they use very well the language of calling out anti-Semitism for when people call out, Likud policies. They go, that's anti-Semitic. You're against Jews. I'm like, no, I'm against wholesale bombing of unarmed people and the starvation of millions. That's not you can be a Jew and do those things and be an evil person, and you can be a Christian against those things and be a good person. It's not really up to anti-Semitism being against the outright genocide of people, in the starting of other wars and whatnot. I do understand sort of the collective mentality of the average Israeli being like, hey, we're these Jews in this little sliver of a country, and we're surrounded by, a billion Muslims who hate our guts. I get that. The problem is that the way you created that country and created the refugee crisis over the last 80 years is what made them really, really hate you. So, I don't know how to rectify any of that. I honestly don't. I think it's too late to do anything about that specifically. And the best we can do is, if it wasn't Trump in charge, I would say make Israel the 51st state and allow anybody of any religion to be there, and then just lord over them and let them be pissed off at us. That'd probably be the best solution. Do it kind of Tito style. Tito was able to coalesce all of Yugoslavia, and everyone got along because they hated fucking Tito so much. Oh, Tito, I hate you so much. And they didn't care if people were, Serbian or Kosovan or Bosnian. Like, they just hated Tito so much they got together. It meant Tito was gone. They didn't have that common enemy. Then they turned on each other. So perhaps we need to make a common enemy for Israel and Palestine so that they hate that person so much that they band together in their hatred of that person. A little psychological warfare. Perhaps that's the way to do it. I don't know. But there's definitely too much influence. I mean, the fact that the United States can't, on the Security Council, can't say, yeah, there's genocide going on in Gaza is awful. And that we will never sanction the Israelis for anything horrible that's going on to people in Gaza, the West Bank. That we just abstain from vote no, whatever. It would be like that lone vote, keeping them from realizing any consequences. And then we just send billions of dollars there. Their colleges are cheap and often tuition free. Their healthcare is cheap and often, without premiums. And we send billions of dollars to them, but we don't get those things, right? We don't get cheap healthcare. We don't get cheap college. So why are we subsidizing that for someone else if we won't give it to our own people? Why do they get it? And why don't we? Right? We're funding research and development in Israel, but we aren't funding research and development here in the U.S. We just cut it all. So, getting a graduate degree in the U.S. is about to become a useless endeavor because you're not going to have access to the technology and the research and the laboratories and the satellites and the, supercomputers and everything else that would need to make your degree worthwhile so you can contribute to humanity. But we'll fund another country to do those things. It's just gross. It's real gross. It's part of the problem that the U.S. has right now, for sure. I don't know how to fix any of that. Honestly, it's one of those Houston problems that I don't think there's an actual solution to. Do you have an idea, Fatso? You're on lots of drugs right now. Are you opening up another window in your mind's eye? You can tell us. No? All right. So, I guess just eat them. Eat them. Israelis, eat the Kud. Eat them up. And that will solve at least one problem we have right now, which is the doubling down of awfulness. You just need to eat everybody. Eat them all. Eat them all. Anyway, Rose Productions. Of the 35,000 kidnapped Ukrainian children by Russia, how many do you think will be reunited with family in Ukraine? This many. If Russia doesn't win, or if Russia wins, if they lose, there's a chance that some of them will be reunited. But most part, they're being sent off to schools where they get brainwashed into believing that Ukraine's doomed. They're now Russians. Russians are better. Their parents are dead, etc. And so that's kind of how they're going. And then those kids, they go into this brainwashing. And I don't know how many of them will come out of it being like, oh, no, I still have my parents. It'll be interesting to see. Russia's definitely doing a huge experiment that a lot of other countries have done on folks that have been genocided. We talked a couple weeks ago about native schools in Canada, the U.S., Australia, and exactly what they did to those kids. And that's what's happening to these kids in Russia. Yoga 2012 sold my No Labs and put it into GME. I'm just focusing on a company with solid fundamentals for now. Not too bad. GME got a little hit, but it's a couple percent rather than 50 or whatever. Rupert Trooper. I do not see why we are sending billions and billions of dollars to Israel when we can use those funds to fix a lot of issues at home, like homelessness or student loans. Yeah. Like, why? why does our money go to make people's lives in an advanced country even better? Like, I can understand I've got it pretty good in comparison to people elsewhere in the world, right? I can understand taking our tax dollars and saving lives where there's, hemorrhagic fever outbreaks, Ebola outbreaks, where places are war torn, where girls aren't allowed to go to school, and we fund for them. Like I get that. That's like helping people who are downtrodden and down rise up, and at least hopefully someday get to the level I am. But why are we cutting off aid to the people who need it, who are facing war and famine, diseases and poverty and everything else, and we're giving money to rich people who have more than we have? That part I don't understand. So, it's not like, I'm like, oh man, here, Bill Gates, here's a couple of dollars. No, that's not how it works. Bill Gates has the foundation and gives money to people who are less fortunate, right? That's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be giving it to less fortunate, not to people who are already fortunate. So, let's stop doing that. Olga Noswatsky, Houston. When does Iran come onto the show to talk about any of the progress, what's going on with the business model? I need to ask him if he will come on the show again. I don't know if. Oh, yeah. He's no longer CEO. He's just in charge of the glucose monitor side. Be interesting to hear from him on that, wouldn't it? I don't know. I'll find out. Grape Knowles, happy birthday. Can you build the case for leaving this country because of safety and opportunity? And also, can you build the case for staying? I want to weigh my odds. Well, the foremost experts in studying totalitarianism and fascism in the United States was a team of folks at Yale, in the Yale History Department. And the whole lot of them took jobs at a university in Canada. And they were like, the lesson we learned over the decades and decades of our research is the first ones out are the ones who make it. Everyone else is doomed. So that's the case for just getting the hell out. They saw the writing on the wall and they went, I'm done. So, you'll if you go back and you read personal accounts of folks who survived the Holocaust, right? You usually have sort of three groups. You have folks who got out in the early 30s. They're like, yeah, this isn't looking good. I'm going to America. I'm going to the UK. I'm going anywhere else but here. South America, Cuba, whatever. And they get out and they leave. There's groups who tried to do that and were accepted and just floated around on ships and stuff, and then until they were sent back. And there were folks who just happened to be the last ones to survive. And if you ever listen to their accounts, it's them. They're alone. They lost brothers, sisters, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone else. They're the last person of their entire lineage who survived that. And they're just here through pure luck, basically, at that point. The apparatus we're building inside the United States right now is starting with Hispanic surnames. They're going after the people who are undocumented. And they're also going after people who are documented. They're just stripping them of their documents, just like they did to Jews in Germany. Jews in Germany were German citizens. And they went, you're no longer a citizen. You're now not a human. And then they put them in camps. So they weren't protected by German, they were no longer protected by German citizenship. So they're starting with people who naturalized, meaning they came here, they did all the paperwork, they got it the right way, they then became citizens, passed citizenship tests, and now they're protected by citizenship. And the only thing they aren't allowed to do is be president. They're allowed to run for office, they're allowed to hold office, they're allowed to do all these things. And now they're ramping up the Office of Denaturalization, because if they remove those folks who became citizens, they removed a gigantic voter bloc that could vote against them. The problem is that because all these institutions where they're putting people, the camps and detention facilities, these are private corporations, and private corporations are getting paid by the head. So if you're processing these people out of the country, you got to go get more to ensure this corporation has growth potential. And eventually you are going to run out of folks who, you stripped of their documentation, you stripped of their citizenship, etc. And you're going to have to feed the beast, which means you're now going to find other minorities you can target. You're going to find political dissenters. You'd be like, oh, you might have been born in America, but you criticize the president, and we see that as a threat to the country, so we're going to strip you of your citizenship and send your ass to a camp. This is the natural progression of these things, because the beast needs its money. You got to feed the beast. So we're creating such a huge apparatus, $160 billion to ICE to pay for these facilities, to pay bounty hunters to hunt these people down, to process them, etc., that if we don't keep that up, the beast will go hungry and the beast will get angry. And you don't want to make that beast angry. You gotta keep it coming, because it's easy to cut government funding, right? You cut the government funding, there's no big anyone to care about that. But you cut the funding to a private contractor, well, then all of a sudden you got to deal with, all the lobbying and the steak lunches and everything that goes into those Congress people. And they're like, excuse me, but evil corporations based in my district, and they employ 15,000 people. And so if you don't go out there and find them a whole bunch of people they can throw into their facilities, my constituency is going to be hurting from that, right? They don't care the fact that their constituency is already hurting because they imprisoned a bunch of people. Those folks aren't dollars, and they aren't buying them steak dinners. So, yeah, that's the case for leaving is very, very, very strong. The writing on the wall is, if you get out now, you do better than those who didn't. The case for staying is basically if you are willing to put your head down and not make waves, maybe come out of this thing unharmed. But that's also a crapshoot. Or you stay and you become a rabble rouser and you stick it to the man. But largely in situations like that, you need an America type country to step in and help fund the resistance, train them, get spies into the various networks. And right now, America is not doing that. They're not going to do it for themselves because they're the evil ones. And I don't think there is a pro-democracy nation large enough and powerful enough to get that to happen. So it's pretty much a stay at your own risk, unless the hand of God comes down and smites our enemies. I think the case is stronger for GTFO at this point. So you're pretty much guaranteed survival with that than staying around and watching everything slowly crumble around you. Anyway, I gotta go to work. Speaking of useless, pointless things. So I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow at some point. I think the weather's supposed to be a little meh tomorrow, so maybe I'll get a show done in the afternoon rather than going to the beach. So until then, I'll see you guys. You have as good a day as you can. I know it was a real bummer of a show. But that's where we are. We're in land. And man, it sucks. Okay, anyway. Boo. Gucci Gucci Goo. Gucci 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 Goo. Gucci Gucci